because you have the it's still a little juicy and it still cuts really well and it's tasty. Oh, no.
I will say, go ahead.
No, yeah.
I will say this is one very weird thing that occurs at Outback is generally I was raised that, pork, you always kind of want pork to be pretty well cooked. Mm-hmm. But at Outback, they ask you how you want your pork cut done. Like steak, they're like, would you like it rare? Would you like it well done? And I don't know. It seems like there's at other restaurants they don't even ask you. They just kind of bring it out.
There's a protocol. There's like a
certain level where pork. There's like pretty much a good
universal level to cook pork. Yeah.
Yes. But at Outback, they
seems to throw you up because I've been with you. Your eyes widen. You see me terrified, like a deer in headlights.
I cut into this pork the one time, and it was like raw inside.
Yeah, I remember that. It was fucking.
I'm like, did they really? It's gross.
You need like a threshold of exactly like if you know what a pork is like. It should just be like natural, like because it's like when a pork is cooked when it's white.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because that's juicy but white.
Exactly.
We go to that other restaurant, that Brick House we go to.
Yeah.
When you ask for pork chops. They cook it perfectly. They're like, this is how it should always be cooked.
Oh, yeah.
It's juicy, but it's white inside. It's perfect.
It's really good. At our school, we used to have a thing every Wednesday called, like, Chicken Patty Day. Mm-hmm. It was because you always have, like, special days, like Pizza Day and all that. And you would get a chicken patty, and I would say 9 times out of 10, it would be pink in the center. So you would just eat around it and hope you didn't get fucking.
You leave a little nugget at the end of it, just throw it away.
It's like just like a pink center and the outside is white. So you would eat around it and hope you didn't fucking eat the middle.
Jesus Christ!
Controversial statement: are people that don't eat meat are they huge pussies?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you threw a steak they're fucking shattered in dust.
The thing is, they always look. They're all malnourished and fucking like.
You push them over.
They look leathery.
All 40 bones in their body.
They're like all yellow. They're like, I'm healthy, whatever. You can see their bones and their tendons and shit. Looks like they stumbled out of fucking Auschwitz, and they're saying they're healthier. They're criticizing me for chowing down a big fucking steak and throwing football, dude. I don't get it.
I saw a little mini document. It was like a little news report on a woman who was raising her kid. She's an ultra vegan. The kid was he looked like he was like a white kid right out of Africa. He was emaciated.
So his stomach was sunk down and his head was inflated.
The kid was like 12, but he had the height of like a 5-year-old.
For Christ's sake, the extremes are those people who like give their babies like no nourishment. They're like, oh, he's a vegan. And the babies die. Yeah. They just die.
I feel like. It's like
we're animals. We need.
It's like he needs to eat breast milk. Shove a raw carrot down his throat.
That's something I don't understand.
They feed their babies like carrots and soy milk.
Look, vegetarians are a little more tolerable than vegans or whatever, but. Do whatever you want, but
fucking vegans.
What are the arguments? Like the biggest one that I hear, if you just say I don't like the taste of meat, that's fine. Yeah. But the people who are like making a statement about it, I don't think that's the right way to go about it.
People who say like I don't eat meat because of what goes the process of killing and eating meat. And
I'm not a fan of that either. I don't like to see videos of like someone fucking taking a brick and smashing a cow in the head. It's not nice, but
I don't want to see someone like fucking just openly kill something in front of me and then hand it to me and be like, "Do you want this?" And be like, "I actually don't." But if you prepared that later and then I was like didn't remember this, I kind of got my brain clear to this, I would still eat it.
My point is like nobody likes the way animals. Do I wish they were treated better? Yeah, I mean obviously, but
you said something like the person like vegans they don't do anything with heads and they don't eat the products from animals too, like milk and stuff.
Yeah,
and there's an argument where it's like, oh, you don't drink like breast milk and stuff. You don't drink like this. It's like, well, milks go through like a process of being fertilized, or is that what it is? Like it's like able to drink, pasteurized. Yeah.
It's not that it's more drinkable. Well, they pretty much make sure it's safer to drink.
Yeah, exactly.
You can drink it raw, but if you don't know where it's coming from, it might.
I just don't understand that. If anything, if you're eating something if you're eating milk from a cow, like I don't understand how that is like.
Well, I think it falls. It probably falls in line with their same argument with eating meat, which is basically I don't like the way that animals are treated. I'm assuming that's what they're.
They like making up rules. A lot of people like eating food.
Yeah, no, it's like a religion kind of thing. It's like it's different kind of Christians just make up their own shit.
I like eating like
vegan seems like
because, like why? Well. Because they don't make.
Because they're not cute.
They don't have cute
They're not
faces.
cute. They have no lips or eyebrows.
They can't look like they're in pain.
Yeah,
you can chop their head off and their expression doesn't change.
No, they're just disgusting, floppy.
Vegan sounds like the ultimate challenge. Like waking up in the morning and being like, okay, so all right, I'm going to be a vegan today, and just realizing just what I cannot have if I go to a supermarket. Which I would ultimately quit right then and there if someone told me I could be a vegan. Because, like, I was raised on meat. I can understand people who don't want to eat meat, but I just can't fathom the concept
Look,
of
like
not
I said,
using stuff from animals.
If your argument is like, I don't like you could be whatever the fuck you want. We don't care, but I just don't like the bullshit arguments that are, there's a lot of horrible stuff going on in the world, and I wish animals were treated better, but at the same time, I'm a human being, and we have big fucking brains that need power and require meat.
Listen, we're just gonna be cruel to each other. It's just the way it is.
I'm gonna go up to a vegan, fucking grab one of those big old meaty rare steaks and just fucking rip it and hit them with fucking blood.
You ever see that video of the chick walking to the restaurant and she's like, "My baby was murdered," and she goes to this huge long-winded speech and people are just like eating steaks and she's like, "Her name is Snow. Every time you eat an egg or drink milk or eat a steak, you remember her name, Snow." And she leaves. And people keep eating. I don't know how people like that are heckled.
Listen, progress in this world is made on murder.
It's made on Tumblr reblogs.
Murdering and destroying your opponents.
Look, the strong survive, Jeff.
It's all it is. We
were smarter than we took it and we started cutting up pieces.
All our ancestors were killed their enemies better than they killed them. So we exist because
we're smarter and better at it.
Yeah.
And now we can do it on a huge scale.
All our ancestors were basically Conan the Barbarian, and they won, and their opponents lost.
Even our ancestors,
why we're here.
Yeah. They ate the meat of the components.
So we're just winners. We're just naturally winners.
If you were looking, we are. We won. We're at the top of the food chain.
Yeah, that's right.
We're the cream of the crop. We're the main event.
Jeff, what's your favorite meal to cook?
I think I like. My favorite meal to cook, I like stir frying. I like stir frying vegetables and various meats and stuff like that. I wish I had a grill. I need a grill.
I'm gonna buy a George Foreman soon.
I have a George Foreman. It's really only. You have to be careful with that. It's really only good for cooking.
Obviously, but my point is, it's also hard to find like a place for a grill.
Yeah,
because you're in an apartment too. Where the fuck you gonna have a? You can't grill.
I could put one out. I have room for one outside if I wanted, but okay.
My favorite thing to cook is macaroni and corn with butter and seasoning.
That's pretty good. Macaroni and corn and butter with seasoning. Do you put the macaroni on the corn?
Whoa, Jeff! Don't get ahead of yourself here. Don't get ahead of yourself.
I don't want to burn it.
I would like to see. You know what? I would like to
see a corn cookie show.
Put Corey in the kitchen, give him a bunch of ingredients, and just see what happens.
I would put it all in a bowl and mix it up and put it in the microwave.
Fucking steak, like a raw chicken, eggs. I would try to cook more. That's
what I would do. You know what? All right, it's real scenario. Yeah. So it's like you're a chef, okay?
Yeah.
And then I'm someone cooking. So you're a 5-time champion chef. So you're like Jeff Gordon, whatever his name is.
Flash Gordon, you idiot.
Jeff Gordon's the NASCAR driver.
You're Jeff Gordon, the 5-time champion food critic.
Right. Okay.
I make you go in there and you're like, so you say something like, I want you to make me the best dish. You have 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I want it
Iron Chef.
Yeah. So it's Iron Chef, and I have a
Iron
fucking
Chef
kitchen
Corey.
as far as the eye can see. I have so many fridges with so many meats and so many.
You have everything. In the whole world, you have everything.
Wait, Zach. What basically, let's treat this like Iron Chef. Let's say Corey, you have all the ingredients in the world.
Yeah.
But you have a secret ingredient that you have to use in every dish.
Okay.
What do you think the best secret ingredient would be for
Corey?
I got it. No, I got it. I'll tell you afterwards.
Let's say, all right, your secret ingredient is hedgehog.
No, I was gonna say spit.
Spit. That's the Corey.
No, Corey.
Okay.
We need, this is serious. This is serious business, Corey.
I am serious. Hedgehog. That's okay.
We need.
There has to be. No, Corey. That's just stupid, Corey.
Would you make?
You have to have a hedgehog head floating in every.
It looks like a.
Snip. That's me slinging my menstrual blood like I'm fucking Spider-Woman.
That's great. All right, so should we start the episode about Columbine? It's not a porcupine, it's Columbine.
Wait, no, where's this thing? Hold on, I was in the middle of...
God damn it, Ben. That's good. That's bad. I want to start it with, it's not a porcupine, it's Columbine.
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's really bad.
Pretty good.
That is offensively bad. You're laughing way too hard at that.
It's gold. Eric Harris, Dylan Cleaver were discussing Columbine.
Today we're going to be talking about Columbine, which is, despite the normal tone of the show, it's a very serious subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being not sarcastic as much as humans.
No,
Very
really,
serious.
seriously, no. This could be described as a very special episode of last podcast.
High school was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
And it became more difficult after 4/20/1999.
Yeah, 1999. Like, first of all, the book that we took most of our research from is called Columbine by Dave Cullen. It is a fucking stellar book.
And I will tell you, to the point in which it gave me nightmares about being back in high school.
Yeah, Dave Cullen wrote this amazing book. This episode, we're not going to get into the gory details. We're not going to talk about them walking through the school. We're not going to talk about all of the carnage and death and blood. What we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about the actual dickheads themselves, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, and the media coverage, the church's reaction to it, and all the things surrounding Columbine.
You're basically watching the development of Eric Harris, who's possibly, if he had not been murdered by himself during the Columbine massacre, would have probably went on to rape and murder as many human people as he can. And Dylan Klebold, who's a kind of panty-waist fucking loser who got drug along by Eric Harris, who's a psychopath, into this thing. And they are not folk heroes. They are not a bunch of people that were persecuted and then they went and shot a bunch of targets. Like they had a list, like they went after the jocks or the people that bullied them.
They did not.
All of that is total horseshit.
Yeah. And you know what? And I also want to thank one of our new assistants here, Kaylin Hughes, for doing all of our conspiracy theory research today. But what I found amazing is Kaylin was born in 1993. And when I asked her, I was like, okay, so I need you to do some research on Columbine, she had a bit of a blank look on her face. She had heard of Columbine. She knew the name. She kind of knew what it was.
Well, she thought it was like an indie band like Pavement, right?
Right. I love Columbine's new hit, all about how they got a blister and now they have to shoot up a school.
Yeah, I remember that when they got all sad about how their shoes were too tight, so they were going to blow up the gym.
Yeah. Typical. It's tough being a teenager these days.
Yeah. It really is tough. It's tough.
Well, what I was getting to is that a lot of younger kids, especially our listeners, the younger listeners, they don't know what the fuck Columbine is.
Right.
You know, so Columbine, what happens on April 20th, 1999, two kids, they were both, there was a sophomore and a junior, a junior and a senior, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. They killed 12 students, killed one teacher, and wounded 21 others, and then they committed suicide. It is the most infamous and well-known school shooting ever committed.
Right.
Basically, it wasn't the first one. There were several leading up to it, but this was definitely this moment in time, especially for our generation, was massive. Definitely, I would divide my high school years into pre-Columbine and post-Columbine because everything changed in my school when that went down. Another thing is also to remember, I know it's dumb, but I feel like it's a detail to remember, is that the massacre happened at Columbine High School, but it happened in Littleton, Colorado, which has connections to this. Basically, it's a part of this thing called Jefferson County, Colorado, which, if you're going to take some of my research into account, is the hub of a gigantic international conspiracy, just the fucking center of the wheel. And Dylan and Eric were part of spokes of a giant network of vigilantes trying to kill a group of sexual predators known as the Fat Cats.
And that will be, I suppose, the opposing viewpoints between during our Columbine episode is my research and Henry's research.
Of course, going back to Henry's point, as before Christ and after Christ is often used in reference to time. Before Columbine and after Columbine can be measured as well when it comes down to the institution of high schools in general and education in this country. After Columbine, it was lockdown.
Yeah.
So no longer going out for lunch. Every single time you walked into the school, a lot of schools put in metal detectors. It became much more like airport security. Teachers became TSA agents, and students no longer felt comfortable to learn, and which is why our current educational process system in this country is failing miserably. But Columbine was really a titular moment, and I say titular and I laugh, but really in the change, in the transition of the current situation we have right now.
And I think another big point to remember about Columbine is that people that are parents now were students then.
Right.
People who are like people that are our age, in our or early to mid 30s. Okay, most people our age have kids. And
are they doing well? Do they have $80,000 a year coming in?
I've heard about this thing called owning a house.
No, don't tell me.
People do this. I'm like, no, house too big. I only need one squalid room that I rent from an old crooked Italian man.
No, like Hasidic Jews own houses. Yeah, not adults. No,
Right.
no.
Can I also, is this when I bring in how the Zionist movement was also a part of Columbine?
We do not.
Just because I mentioned Jew once, then all of a sudden you have to bring in the protocols.
Just type in Jew Columbine and see what kind of forums pop up.
All right. Marcus.
But I think the people that were teenagers then, their parents now, they're terrified. Whether they're conscious of it or not, that seed was planted by Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold that school is not a safe place. And if school is not a safe place, then nowhere is a safe place. And that was their fucking goal.
And also, what's interesting, so good things came out of what the aftermath of Columbine, like the anti-bullying movement was good, even though it was ineffective and meant nothing in connection to Columbine. But also, the negative, especially, is that if you want to also look at it again from a conspiratorial point of view, it was a very useful event for our government to help slowly instill people getting used to a martial law environment. And basically, it's one of those things. It's those perfect things. It's sort of like 9/11, whether or not they let it happen or if they were a part of constructing it or they just used the event. It was very easy to take something like that as a little doggy door, as a way to slide in and take some more liberties away from you because they know we're afraid of fear.
Well, bringing up 9/11, I think that 9/11 changed America on a national scale, on a macro scale, how the nation of America approaches the rest of the world. And I think that Columbine changed America on a micro local scale. Like, they both changed us into the fearful country that we are today, the fucking skittish beast that we are. But Columbine started it on a local level, and 9/11 started on a international level.
Do we want to meet these fuck faces now, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold?
Let's meet these fuck faces. And first of all, as far as the profile of the school shooter, there is no profile at all. The school shooter comes from every ethnic, economic, and social class. The whole myth about them being into really violent video games and movies is false. Only a quarter of them were into violent movies, and half of that were into violent video games, which is much less than teenagers on average. They do share some things. They're almost 100% male. Almost all of them suffered some sort of loss or failure leading up to the attack that they just couldn't fucking handle. And almost all of them planned ahead months, if not years in advance. The myth that the school shooter suddenly snaps, that he was some sort of kid that was constantly beat upon, and then so one day they get the big fucking wedgie, and then that's it. That is a complete and total myth, especially when you talk about Klebold and Harris. The big narrative that we've always heard is that they were outcasts, they were goths, they were part of a trenchcoat mafia. None of that is true. They were not outcasts, they were not goths. There was no feud between jocks and nerds, there was no targeting, there was no connection to this whole trenchcoat mafia thing.
The trenchcoat mafia was just a great name, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a really great name that all of the journalists sort of jumped upon when they first heard it. But the trenchcoat mafia was a thing that had started like a year ago, before any of the murders happened, and it was just a bunch of goth kids just trying to be dumb. They were just wearing trench coats and walking around. I think they were getting into like some altercations with people, but then eventually they were like, man, these fucking trench coats are hot. And you're like, yeah, let's just take them off. It's like summer. This is dumb.
Well, what it all started with was one goth kid bought a duster at Sam's Club for a Dracula costume. The costume didn't really work out, but he kept wearing the trench coat every day. All of his friends thought that it was cool. They wore trench coats for a few weeks. They had a picture in the yearbook, and then that was it.
All right. So, I mean, I think it does. We do have to point out the fact that, like you're saying, how unbelievably goofy this whole trench coat mafia thing is. I mean, when we were growing up, when this term came out, it made them seem as if they were the most terrifying human beings that have ever walked the earth. And in reality, it's funny because look at that trench coat. I love it. We should be the trench coat mafia. I love it. Let's fight with the Jinko gang. You know, I mean, it was just it is so comical now when you look at this in hindsight. But at the time, the Trenchcoat Mafia instilled fear in every single person, and it made parents, it made their hair stand up on their arms.
Mm-hmm. It was also a great way to weaponize goths. That's what this did, right? Because you think about this, right? If you've ever met a group of goth people, they are just not the most aggressive. Right?
No,
this is not a group of people that are all like, this is not an action-based group.
No.
This is skulking, sitting on a stoop, smoking a clove group. This is a group of people that share anime and watch it in silence, and then every once in a while, like, the guy will eventually sort of tap the girl with cat ears on's, like, knee, like, every once in a while, and being like, isn't this sad? She's like, I love the sad. And, like, that's what goths were. And so they made the whole... The news media also then took that and made it like you're supposed to be afraid of the goths, like they were the actual Addams family.
And like we've discussed in episodes previous, this is on the heels of the Satanic Panic sort of situation that happened in the early 90s.
Yeah.
They were always looking for different ways. If you were a child in the 90s, every single parent watched 2020.
Yes.
And Dateline and these shows, and every single one of these episodes was a new panic that these shows were talking about when it came to teenagers and things like that. So every single day we would wake up and our parents would be like, don't shoot yourself in the head today. I watched an episode of 2020 and I heard the kids are doing that right now. So just don't do it.
Coming inside, it's just like, I'm sorry, I've just been making sketches with my buddy in the park all day. I'm literally the most innocent boy who's ever lived.
Right.
Like, you're on PCP. I know you are. I know you are.
Yeah, why is there less shaving cream than there was yesterday? Are you huffing shaving cream? That's not even possible, Mom. I watched a 2020 episode and they said you could huff shaving cream.
And I know you're doing it snooping because that's what all the kids are doing these days. Diana Hamilton said it on the TV.
That's right.
They're taking the sauce. They're snorting the shaving cream.
Well, you joke, but 2020, that was the reason why the goths were so demonized, because Diane Sawyer did a 2020 special about goths who kill.
Right.
And yes, goths have killed, but so, as Dave Collins says in his book, so is every other subset, every other subculture. Everybody has killed. You have a subculture, you have a subset. Somebody in that subculture has murdered somebody. But for some reason, because the goths look kind of scary and because they were sort of attached to this massacre, and we'll get into that later on, more into the media perception and how all of this stuff was actually created. But as far as Dylan and Eric were, Dylan Klebold and Eric Karras, first of all, Eric Karras, the ringleader, he was smart, he was popular, his peers considered him to be a cool dude. He had no problem with girls whatsoever. He managed to sleep with a 23-year-old woman by the time he was 17. He was so well-liked that the last human interaction he had before he started fucking killing people was a car full of girls waving, honking, and trying to get his attention. This guy was by no means and in no way any sort of nerd. He was not bullied, and he sure as fuck was no martyr.
But what he was the perfect picture of a psychopath, which we'll get into deeper detail as we go on. Here's a person that loved to lie, got pleasure out of deceiving people, and he's Ted Bundy. Because he's handsome, because he was relatively handsome, even though he looked like, he looks like a fucking, a normal high school fucking jerk. Yeah. That girls liked. Because he was a jerk, and he was a jerk to everybody. And then when you're 15, you're like, ew, that's dangerous. And then it turns out, it is fucking dangerous.
Very dangerous. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan Klebold, he was shy, meek, self-conscious, the complete opposite of Eric Karras. Couldn't talk to girls, followed Eric everywhere that he went. He was constantly trying to impress him. Of course, there were these videos that Eric Karras and Dylan Klebold made before Columbine. And if you watch the videos, if you only watch the videos, and in fact, a lot of the press got fooled by this as well. If you watch the videos without a trained eye, it seems like Dylan Klebold is the ringleader in this. It seemed because he's louder, he's more boisterous, he has more of a violent rhetoric. But if you watch, every time he has a big outburst and every time that he tries to act tough, he always looks over at Eric Karras. He always looks over at him to get his approval, to see if he's doing it right.
And the thing that is very disturbing about a lot of those, because they have released some of these tapes to YouTube We haven't actually, because there are two series of tapes. There's the tapes that they shot with each other while they were walking around high school together. And when you watch those videos, those are on YouTube. They are disturbingly similar to how I was with me and my friends.
Yeah.
We were a bunch of like jerky, ludicrous kids that were filming each other, running around, being crazy, like making stupid voices, making fun of people, doing all this stuff, like making fun of teachers. They'd be doing the same exact thing. But then they started doing the basement tapes, which was them is basically explaining why they did what they did, which have not been released to the public. But there are transcripts of it, which I'm looking at right now. And it's just, again, it's just another bitch fest. And it's very interesting when you watch these kids. They're kids and they're acting like normal kids, but that shows you where the brain chemistry was off. That they were actually very, very mentally ill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, during the actual shooting itself, Klebold hardly ever fired. He barely fired his weapon. He just spent most of his time cheering. Cheering on Eric. More myths dispelled about these guys. They were both heavily involved in school activities. They went to football games. They went to dances. They were into sports. Eric Harris was a big Colorado Rockies fan. Dylan Klebold loved the Red Sox. He wore his Red Sox hat during the massacre. And the biggest thing of all, they were bullies. They loved picking on kids. They loved calling kids fag. That was their favorite word. In fact, Dylan Klebold got caught scratching fag into a freshman's locker. And
it's
Harris,
so sad the kind of torment that those guys went through. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. When I think about it, I'm so sympathetic to them, and I just feel so. It's a shame that they got bullied like that.
Yeah, it's a shame that they got caught and had to, pay money.
Well, people don't sympathize enough with the people who are bullying the young people. It's just like,
what are they going through?
They are going through a lot. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Harris in particular liked to impersonate the special ed kids.
I mean, I can't say anything against that because, listen to my approach to performance on this show.
Yeah.
But I will say I feel that it's effective and we do other things to help people so it all balances out in sort of like a... Right. In a Gnostian way.
I agree. And it's just too bad that Eric Harris took his life with these great impressions of special needs children. He would have been huge in France.
Oh, yeah.
He would have been so famous in France. They love some good special needs comedy.
Or if we could have gotten him on Mad TV.
Yeah.
Yes, it would have been move over Will Sasso. Eric Harris is coming through.
Well, some of the claims that the media made were actually true. Eric Harris was really into German shit. He loved Nazis, He loved Nietzsche, he loved Freud, which is a weird thing for a high school kid to be into, and loved Hitler. His favorite band was KMFDM. But ironically, Dylan Klebold, half Jewish. But
which is one of the conspiracy theories that Dylan Klebold didn't actually kill himself, was that Eric Harris killed him because he was Jewish.
Okay, and so he waited until that moment?
Yes, it
was friends with him
absolutely
for,
solid.
The friends for like 3 years. They were friends. Like they knew each other for a while.
It was all built up. The whole thing wasn't even to kill the other kids. It was just to kill him.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a ruse. That's what I'm saying, man. I'm talking about airtight conspiracies that I'm going to be talking about here.
I want to be fed to death. I can't wait.
But Harris was into the German culture as much as bikers are, right? Like the Hells Angels love to wear the swastikas and do all that shit because it freaks people out. It makes people upset. Eric Harris's every single move was basically building up to be the ultimate adversary. He wanted everybody to go fuck themselves, and so that's why he adopted it. He didn't believe in anything. He was very smart. In the fact that he can even understand these readings when he's 16, 17. That's what they all said, is that he's next to brilliant.
Yeah.
But he's, a fucking psychopath and should have been aborted.
So essentially, Eric Harris was a pure psychopath, textbook psychopath. What people...
Spring has finally sprung. To celebrate, why not enjoy that new season feeling on a European getaway? With flights from $29.99 one way, there's really no reason to wait for summer. Book today at easyjet.com and bring on those spring holiday vibes. Selected seats and travel dates, T's and C's apply. See easyjet.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati Podcast, episode 111. I, as always, am one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by Jesse Cox and Alex Fosse, the other two hosts and friends. What up? Hello.
Yeah! Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Yeah!
We've got a bit of a... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Alex. Are you about to say something?
I'm just hype.
You're hype? Yeah, I'm always hype.
Ready for the show.
We got a bit of a lighter episode today. This week, I've been kind of sick, and I've just not had the energy to, put into the work for the next big one that we're working on. So instead of not giving you an episode, we decided to dive in to do some more listener stories. You guys are constantly flooding us with wild experiences that all of you supposedly have out there.
Y'all are weird.
I will
Y'all
never
are fun.
Permanently in my brain is the man who turned into an equation. You guys have some nutty shit happen to you out in the real world.
That blew my fucking mind, dude.
He blew his own mind.
He blew his own mind. He was that woman in the little meme that's and then
yeah, the equation shows up. Yeah. So yeah, we got a great selection of stories that you guys have sent us. Thank you so much for that. But more importantly, we want to thank you for the money you've sent us. Don't we, Alex?
Not just the money that they've already sent us, but the money that they will be sending us once they head over to patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, the only website. It's a great place to go that you can go and you can support this weekly show. That Chilluminati's only a weekly show because you guys made it so. And we've just recently hit our goal of a big milestone. So that's going to be a big thing for us. We're about to get an event together, completely funded by Patreon. We're going to do a lockdown type scenario.
Yeah,
I can't that's not at all real. That is completely in a fantasy world right now. I can't even imagine what that's going to be. There's also great pre-sale stuff, art, a Discord, all kinds of cool stuff that you can access from patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, where you can become an official inductee member into our secret society of people who don't take paranormal stuff too seriously. You know what I mean? If that's you, if that's your relationship with the paranormal, join us on the only website, patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod.
That's the internet exists simply for that one website.
We all log on and we all just check out Mel's art together.
I mean, it's very true. Mel's art is fucking killer. All right. Let's dive into some fun stories. We've got, as always, a smorgasbord. We've got ghost stories. We got a potential alien encounter. We got a dream or two for Jesse to take a look at. A whole lot of things that have been thrown up on the subreddit you want to share. The subreddit is the best place to go do that. I'll open up. We'll first start reading by a story by the name of Disrupted Sleep of a Skeptic by Reddit user Definitely Not a Robbit. Good afternoon, gentlemen. He's definitely not a Robbit, dude.
Are you sure?
I believe him.
Is that the things that took over Mario Land? What are Robbits?
Yes, is that Robbits.
Is that what that
raving
is?
Rabbids? Those are Rabbids? Rabbids, raving. Yeah, they're Rabbids.
All right, well,
that's all the noise they make.
So you could still technically be a rabbit.
He could be.
Yeah,
or a robot. Yeah, it's actually true because he's not a Robbit. So he could.
Not the robot.
It's with two B's though, not one B.
Well, at the bottom of the story, it says 1B.
Did he misspell his own name?
I don't know. Would a robot rabbit do that? Think about it.
I think he might have. All right, here we go. We're going to read a story. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I should say that my entire life, I have been plagued by nightmares. I am on a medicine specifically to prevent nightmares and help me sleep. And even then, sometimes my mind is still a sadistic asshole. I have aphantasia and find the only time I can visualize anything is in my sleep, during my very vivid dreams, and by extension, vivid horrifying, full 4D experience nightmares.
4D?
Please have a 4D nightmares.
Whoa.
And like you get sprayed by water a little bit. Yeah.
Getting close to your face.
Yeah. And like, oh yeah. The chair moves. That sounds
Smells
great.
like a fart for some. Every single show has like a fart smell in it. So they like blow fart gas in your face. I don't know why that's a fucking trope in those shows.
Me either. In an adaptation to my nightmares, I have developed a number of mechanisms to help me get through the night, such as limited lucid dreaming, wherein I can willfully alter the dream, although once again, sometimes my mind is still a sadistic asshole and decides regardless of what I want, I'm going to see spiders. This is relevant. And springing awake if possible. Unfortunately, due to my frequent disrupted sleep, I do experience sleep paralysis, full blown, can't move anything but my eyes, can't speak and can't scream, although sometimes apparently I can whimper or move my mouth as if I'm saying help. I've actually experienced this, not myself, but with somebody who experienced it and them like desperately trying to like get out and of like their sleep paralysis. It's really scary, man, because you shake them and like they can't come out of it. It's just,
I have both seen it and experienced it myself, but only like 2 or 3 times ever in my life.
It's scary. Anyway, moving on. They are no longer scary as they've happened so many times. They are now merely an annoyance and leave me incredibly groggy and wobbly when my body finally catches up to my mind. I am a woman in my 20s and a skeptic. When I myself am faced with the situation that could be seemingly supernatural or paranormal, my first answer is that what I'm experiencing isn't what's really happening, and I am perceiving things incorrectly. My second answer is that I'm experiencing a hallucination due to mental illness or my issues with sleep. And my third answer is hallucinations due to involuntary drugging. And my fourth answer is that someone is playing a trick on me.
And my fifth answer is that there is a green stone that has caused a war between 2 factions of British wizards.
And that's the twist. This is what this episode is all about.
Don't bring this episode down. There's no need to do that.
Green stone.